The veteran's hand trembled as he reached for the microphone. His prosthetic leg caught on the edge of the witness stand. He stumbled, and from the defendant's table, a laugh cut through the courtroom, sharp, cruel, unmistakable. Judge Frank Caprio's head snapped toward the sound. Mackenzie Holloway, 17 years old, had her hand over her mouth, but her eyes were still bright with amusement. The smirk hadn't left her face. "Did you just laugh?" Mackenzie's shoulders lifted in a small shrug. "Sorry, it was just what?" She waved her hand dismissively. "Nothing. I didn't mean anything." Timestamp 11:14 a.m. Defendant laughs at victim's disability during witness testimony. In the gallery, a man in his late 40s sat alone in the third row. He hadn't taken his eyes off Mackenzie since the hearing began. His jaw was tight, his hands clasped so hard the knuckles had gone white. But Mackenzie hadn't looked at him once. She didn't know he was there, or if she did, she was pretending not to care. The man in the gallery was her father, and he knew exactly why Billy Odom had that prosthetic leg. "Tell us where you're watching from." But Mackenzie Holloway had no idea who she had just laughed at. Judge Caprio moved around the bench and approached the witness stand, offering his hand to steady the veteran. "Take your time, sir." Billy Odom gripped the edge of the stand and straightened himself, his voice quiet but steady. "Thank you, Your Honor. The leg still surprises me sometimes, even after 12 years. Caprio's voice was gentle. 12 years. "Where did you lose it?" "Kandahar Province, Afghanistan, the 14th of October, 2012. The courtroom went still. Mackenzie's smirk faded slightly, replaced by something closer to confusion. Her mother, Gina Holloway, shifted uncomfortably in her seat beside her. Mr. Castellano, the clerk, stood and cleared his throat. Case 2025-JV0447. City of Providence versus Mackenzie Holloway. Charges: criminal mischief, felony level. Vandalism of veteran memorial. Harassment. Trespassing. Gina stood immediately, her voice sharp. "Your Honor, these charges are excessive. It was a teenage prank that got out of hand. Ma'am, please, let me understand what happened first." Caprio turned his attention back to Billy Odom. "Mr. Odom, please describe what happened on January 11th. Billy took a breath, his voice steady but quiet. "My wife and I were asleep. Around 2 in the morning, our Ring doorbell camera picked up 3 kids coming onto our property. They spray-painted our garage. Then they went to my backyard." He paused, and the weight of what came next hung in the air. "They destroyed my memorial garden. Police report excerpt incident. 2025011104447. Damage to property at 284 Thornton Avenue. Garage door spray-painted with slurs including baby killer and murderer. Backyard memorial garden vandalized. 7 memorial stones overturned and defaced. American flag spray-painted black. Dog tag stolen from memorial display. Estimated damage: $8,400. Judge Caprio leaned forward slightly. "Memorial garden? For my friends. The ones who didn't make it home. But the damage wasn't just property. It was personal." Caprio asked the prosecutor to present the evidence. A laptop was brought forward, open to a video file. The prosecutor described what the court was about to see before playing it. "Your Honor, this video was posted to TikTok by the defendant at 2:47 a.m. on January 11th. It was deleted approximately 4 hours later, but a neighbor had already preserved the file. The video played on mute, but the images spoke loudly enough. 3 figures moving through a backyard, spray paint cans visible in their hands, memorial stones being kicked over, toppling like dominoes. One figure clearly Mackenzie, based on her build and the jacket she'd been wearing when arrested, holding up a set of dog tags like a trophy, grinning at the camera. The caption appeared at the bottom of the screen. Found a psycho's shrine, lol. TikTok post screenshot posted January 11, 2025. 2:47 a.m. Caption: Found a psycho's shrine, lol, 347 views, before deletion at 6:52 a.m. Comments preserved include: "Bro, that's messed up. Those look like military tags, WTF. Delete this." Judge Caprio's voice was ice. "Miss Holloway, is that you in the video?" Mackenzie hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, but did you call a veteran's memorial garden a psycho's shrine? I didn't know what it was. It just looked weird. How was I supposed to know? It looked weird. Did you ask? Mackenzie's frustration was starting to show. Why would I ask some random guy about his backyard? It's not like there was a sign or something. Because it might have mattered. Because someone might have died for those stones to be there. Like this video, if you believe memorials to the fallen are sacred. But Mackenzie still didn't understand what she had destroyed. Judge Caprio turned back to Billy Odom, his voice softer now. Mr. Odom, tell the court about the memorial. What does it represent? Billy's hands gripped the edge of the witness stand. I built it after I came home. Took me 2 years to finish. Every stone has a name on it. Every name is someone who didn't make it back. Would you read them for the court? Billy took a breath, and when he spoke, his voice was steady but weighted with years of grief. PFC Marcus Webb, he was 19, from Georgia, wanted to be a teacher when he got out. Specialist Terrence Cole, 22, Chicago, best mechanic in the platoon, could fix anything. Sergeant Damian Rivers, 26, had twin daughters born 3 months after he deployed. Never got to meet them. Corporal Anthony Souza, 21, Providence. His mother still writes me letters every Christmas. PFC Jerome Mitchell, 20, could make anyone laugh, even in the middle of a firefight. Specialist Kenji Yamamoto, 24, smartest guy I ever served with, spoke 4 languages. Sergeant First Class Robert Chen, Bobby, 34, my best friend since basic training. The silence in the courtroom was absolute. Even Mackenzie had stopped fidgeting. Memorial Garden record, 7 stones, 7 names, 7 soldiers killed in action, Afghanistan, 2009 to 2012. Memorial constructed 2014 by Staff Sergeant William Odom at personal residence, 284 Thornton Avenue, Providence. Each stone hand-carved with name, rank, dates of service. American flag flown daily, dog tags displayed in weatherproof case. Billy's voice cracked slightly. I talk to them every morning. I water their flowers. I tell them what's happening in the world, what's going on with their families. It's the only place I have to be with them. He looked directly at Mackenzie for the first time. And she kicked over their stones and called it a psycho's shrine. Mackenzie looked down at the table. For the first time since the hearing began, the smirk was completely gone. But the connection between Billy Odom and Mackenzie Holloway ran deeper than anyone knew. Judge Caprio had noticed the man in the gallery. He'd been watching him throughout the testimony, and the pain on the man's face was impossible to miss. Sir, you've been watching this proceeding very intently. Do you have a connection to this case? The man stood slowly, his voice rough. Yes, Your Honor. My name is Derek Holloway. I'm Mackenzie's father. Mackenzie's head snapped up, her eyes wide. What are you doing here? Derek didn't answer her. He kept his eyes on Judge Caprio. And I know Sergeant Odom. I served with him. The energy in the courtroom shifted instantly. Billy Odom's eyes widened. Mackenzie looked between her father and Billy, confusion spreading across her face. Judge Caprio leaned forward. You served together? Yes, sir. 10th Mountain Division, Afghanistan. 2012. Billy was my squad leader. Billy had gone completely still, his knuckles white against the wood of the witness stand. Military service record overlapped Staff Sergeant William Odom and Sergeant First Class Derek Holloway. Both served. 10th Mountain Division, Operation Enduring Freedom. Afghanistan, 2011 to 2012. Same unit, same deployment. Same convoy on the 14th of October 2012. Judge Caprio's voice was quiet. Mr. Holloway, do you know how Sergeant Odom lost his leg? Derek's voice broke. Yes, sir. I was there. I was in the vehicle. Mackenzie's voice came out small, confused. What vehicle? What are you talking about? Derek finally looked at his daughter, and the pain in his eyes was raw. Billy Odom saved my life, Mackenzie. On the 14th of October 2012, an IED hit our convoy outside Kandahar. Our Humvee caught fire. I was trapped in the back seat, unconscious. Billy pulled me out. His voice grew stronger, harder. Then he went back in for the others. He got 3 of us out before the second explosion hit. That's when he lost his leg. Subscribe if you're over 50, and remember what sacrifice really costs. But Derek wasn't finished. He stepped forward, his hands trembling. Billy saved my life, and for 12 years I've lived with that. Survivor's guilt, they call it. 3 of us made it out. 7 didn't. Bobby Chen, Billy's best friend, died in that second explosion, right in front of him, while Billy was dragging me to safety. Derek's voice cracked. He lost his leg and his best friend in the same minute. Because he went back for us. Because he didn't leave us behind. He turned fully toward Mackenzie now, and his voice shook with anger and heartbreak. That memorial garden you destroyed? I've been there, every Memorial Day since 2014. Every single year. I stand with Billy in that garden and I thank those 7 men for dying so I could live. And you laughed at it. You called it a shrine. You kicked over their stones and posted it on the internet like it was a joke. Mackenzie's face had gone pale. I didn't know. You didn't ask. You didn't think. You never do. Derek Holloway's statement to court. That man saved my life. He lost his leg pulling me out of a fire. He lost his best friend trying to save all of us. And my daughter destroyed the only place he has to remember the friends who didn't make it home. 5 seconds. 7. 10. 12. In that silence, a daughter saw her father cry for the first time. Tears were running down Derek's face. Mackenzie stared at him, frozen, her own eyes beginning to fill. Judge Caprio let the silence stretch. Then he spoke quietly. Is there anyone else who would like to address the court? A woman stood from the gallery. Rosemary Odom, Billy's wife, walked to the front of the courtroom. Her voice was steady but filled with quiet fury. Your Honor, I watch my husband every morning. He goes out to that garden before sunrise, rain or shine, hot or cold, winter, summer, doesn't matter. He talks to those boys like they're still here. Sometimes he cries. Sometimes he laughs at a memory. But he's always there. It's part of him. Her voice hardened. After what she did, he couldn't go out there for a week. He just sat by the window and stared at the mess. The stones knocked over. The paint. He kept asking me, why would someone do this? What did I do to deserve this? Rosemary Odom's statement excerpt. He kept asking me why. Why would someone hurt him like this? What had he done? I didn't have an answer. I still don't. Rosemary looked directly at Mackenzie. Those names aren't just stones. They're boys who didn't come home. Billy keeps them alive. He waters their flowers. He tells them stories. And you laughed while you destroyed them. She took a breath. You have a father who loves you, who survived because Billy gave everything to save him. And you laughed at Billy's pain like it was entertainment. Her voice softened just slightly. I hope someday you understand what you've done. I really do. Subscribe if you think some lessons can only be learned the hard way. And then Judge Caprio delivered the response that would silence the room. He removed his glasses and set them on the bench. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of decades on the bench and a lifetime of seeing the best and worst of humanity. Miss Holloway, I've been on this bench a long time. I've seen cruelty. I've seen ignorance. I've seen young people make terrible decisions they spend years regretting. But I have rarely seen someone laugh at a man's wounds without knowing how he got them, and then find out that wound was earned, saving her own father's life. Mackenzie was crying now, silently, her shoulders shaking. That's not just cruelty, Miss Holloway. That's cosmic irony. Caprio's voice grew harder. You spray-painted baby killer on the garage of a man who has nightmares about the children he couldn't save. You called his memorial a psycho's shrine, a memorial to men who died protecting people like you. People who are free to make terrible choices because better people made the ultimate sacrifice. And you laughed at his leg. The leg he lost, pulling your father out of a burning vehicle. Judge Caprio's case notes defendant demonstrated complete absence of empathy until connection to father revealed. Pattern of attention-seeking behavior masking deeper issues related to parental divorce and abandonment feelings. Requires intervention and education, not merely punishment. Recommend restorative justice approach with veteran community service component. Caprio continued, his voice steady. Your mother called this a prank. Pranks are putting plastic wrap on a toilet seat. Pranks are setting someone's alarm clock ahead. This was desecration of a sacred space. Those 7 names you mocked, those were real people. 19-year-olds who wanted to be teachers, 22-year-olds who could fix anything, fathers who never met their children. And you kicked over their stones and said, lol. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. I want you to understand something, Miss Holloway. Billy Odom will never get his leg back. He will never get Bobby Chen back. He will never get those 7 men back. That loss is permanent. But you have something rare. You have a father who survived. Who's here today, even though you've pushed him away for years. Who still wants to know you, to be part of your life. Billy Odom gave you that gift. He gave you a father. And this is how you repaid him. The sentence was about to match the magnitude of the crime. Judge Caprio picked up his pen. Miss Holloway, here is my ruling. Full restitution of $8,400. You will pay every dollar, even if it takes you years of part-time work. That money will go to restoring what you destroyed. 300 hours of community service at the Providence VA Medical Center. You will work directly with disabled veterans. You will push wheelchairs. You will assist in physical therapy. You will help men and women who lost limbs, lost sight, lost mobility in service to this country. You will learn what sacrifice looks like up close. Mackenzie was nodding, tears streaming down her face. A formal written apology to Sergeant Odom and his wife, to be read aloud in this courtroom within 30 days. A mandatory visit to Arlington National Cemetery with your father. You will walk among the graves of the fallen. You will read the names. You will understand the weight of what you mocked. A 10-page essay on each of the 7 soldiers whose memorial stones you destroyed. You will research their lives, their service, their deaths. You will learn who Marcus Webb was, who Terrence Cole was, who Bobby Chen was. You will know them before you're allowed to forget what you did. Attendance at the Memorial Day ceremony at Sergeant Odom's home for the next 3 consecutive years. You will stand with the families of the fallen and you will honor them. And finally, participation in the Veterans Oral History Project. You will interview and record the stories of 10 veterans. You will listen to what they sacrificed. You will preserve their words forever. Sentence record. Full requirements listed and entered into record. Failure to complete any component will result in additional penalties, including potential detention. Progress reports required monthly. Mackenzie's voice was barely a whisper. I understand, Your Honor. Do you? Caprio's voice was sharp. Look at Sergeant Odom. Mackenzie forced herself to lift her head and look at Billy. His face was weathered, lined with pain and years of carrying grief most people would never understand. That man went into a fire for your father. He didn't hesitate. He didn't calculate the risk. He didn't think about what it would cost him. He just went. Caprio leaned forward. Can you honestly say you would do the same for anyone? Mackenzie didn't answer. She couldn't. Then learn to be someone who would. Comment respect if you think every veteran deserves dignity. 9 months passed. Mackenzie completed every requirement of her sentence. But the transformation didn't happen overnight. The first week at the VA hospital, she wanted to quit. A veteran named Eugene, who had lost both legs in Vietnam, asked her to help him into his wheelchair. She managed it, but then locked herself in a bathroom and cried for 20 minutes. When she came out, Eugene was still waiting. He just smiled and said, "Ready to try the hard part now?" By month 3, she'd been assigned to assist with physical therapy sessions. She learned to spot the signs of pain that veterans hid because they didn't want to complain. She learned that the loudest patients were often dealing with the least, and the quietest ones carried burdens she couldn't begin to imagine. In month 5, a veteran named Arthur, 78 years old, Korea, told her something that stayed with her. Everyone makes mistakes, kid. The measure of a person isn't the mistake. It's what they do after. Community service log 300 hours completed over 9 months. VA hospital supervisor notes, initial resistance and discomfort transformed into genuine engagement with veteran population. Subject requested additional volunteer hours beyond court requirement. Recommend early completion acknowledgement. The visit to Arlington National Cemetery happened in April. Derek picked Mackenzie up early in the morning, and they drove in near silence. When they arrived, they walked through Section 60, where the most recent casualties were buried. Neither spoke for an hour. They just walked, reading names, reading ages, reading the years that ended too soon. Finally, Derek stopped at a grave. He knelt down and touched the headstone. I knew him. He was 22. Good kid. Mackenzie knelt beside her father. She didn't know what to say, so she just stayed there, her hand on the cold stone, feeling the weight of a life ended. Then she reached over and held her father's hand for the first time in 8 years. The essays took her months, 70 pages total, 10 for each soldier. She researched their lives, tracked down family members, read letters they'd written home. Marcus Webb's mother agreed to talk to her on the phone. At the end of the call, Mrs. Webb said something that broke Mackenzie completely. "Thank you for seeing my son. Not many people remember them anymore." Letter from Marcus Webb's mother. "Thank you for taking the time to learn about Marcus. He was so much more than the war. He loved reading. He wanted to teach history. Your essay reminded me of the boy I raised, not just the soldier he became. That means everything." The first Memorial Day ceremony at Billy Odom's house, Mackenzie stood in the restored garden. The stones had been reset, the flowers replanted, the flag replaced. Billy handed her a trowel without a word. Rosemary could use help with the marigolds. Mackenzie planted marigolds around Bobby Chen's stone. She worked in silence, her hands in the dirt, the sun warm on her back. When she finished, Billy came over and looked at her work. Bobby would have liked yellow marigolds. It was the first time he'd spoken directly to her since the hearing. Mackenzie nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. Letter from Mackenzie to Billy Odom. 8 months after sentencing. I will never be able to give you back what you lost. I can't undo what I did, but I can make sure I never forget what you gave. I can make sure I never forget what they gave. I promise you I won't forget. The final veteran interview for the oral history project was the hardest. She asked her father if he would participate. They sat across from each other in his small apartment, a recording device between them, and talked for 2 hours. Derek told her about the deployment, about the friends he made, about the fear and the boredom and the moments of terror. He told her about the day the IED hit, about waking up outside the burning vehicle with Billy kneeling over him, about seeing Billy go back in despite the flames. "I should have tried harder to reach you," Derek said quietly. "After the divorce, I should have fought harder." Mackenzie shook her head, tears falling. "I should have let you." 1 year after the hearing, Judge Caprio received a photograph in the mail. It showed Mackenzie and Billy standing in the memorial garden, the American flag behind them, 7 stones visible in the frame. They weren't smiling, but there was something like peace in both their faces. A handwritten note was attached. "She waters the flowers now. Every Sunday. Billy." Judge Caprio pinned the photo to the board in his chambers, next to dozens of others. Beneath it, he wrote in his careful script, "The laugh lasted 2 seconds. The lesson lasted a lifetime." Dramatization for storytelling and education, not legal advice or reporting.